Well, Mike Ploud is the former chair of the CBI Wales and Aidan Harper is from the 4-Day Week campaign. Good morning, both.
Good morning.
Mike, let me start with you. A 4-day working week. It sounds great, but is it practical?
I think it sounds superb. The only problem is I don't think we'll end up with many businesses left in Wales. And, who's going to pay for it? When we go to the shops, are we going to pay 20% more for all of our goods to pay for it? What happens when we go to the doctors and there's nobody receptionist? What happens when we go to the supermarket and because people are only working 4 days, there's a queue or there's no food on the shelves? What happens when we order something and it's not delivered because the delivery guy has got 4 days? It's a lovely idea. It's great for politicians, but actually at the moment, businesses in Wales it's a globally competitive world. It's really difficult out there. We've lost Ford, have closed. Triumph, sadly, have closed or closing, and that's that lovely dairy up in North Wales that just announced they've got serious problems. It's creating jobs is what we actually need, and I love the idea. It's great politicians coming up with these things, but let's get real, let's get realistic.
Aidan, it sounds good, but it's not practical.
I'd like to come back on a few of those points there that are really interesting that were just raised. You're talking about how can we possibly afford to move down to a 4-day working week. The points raised there were almost word for word exactly the same points that were raised against the move from a 6 to a 5-day week. When we move from a 6 to a 5-day week, the world didn't collapse. In fact, we can say that it's a much better place for it. He also mentions Ford. Now, Ford in America in the early 20th century were one of the first major organizations to move from a 6 to a 5-day week and to a 40-hour week. And not only did they do that, they raised the wages of their workers. And Ford went from strength to strength to become one of the most productive, most profitable companies in the world. And that's because they looked after their workers. And it's because they recognized that increasing productivity, increasing well-being, and looking after their workers was essential for their own business performance.
Aidan,
we can also look at other countries.
Businesses look after.
Hang on a minute. Don't talk over each other because nobody will be able to hear you. Just finish your point, Aidan.
Thank you. So if we look also internationally, there is a very clear correlation between countries that work fewer hours and which are more productive and have stronger economies. And that's comparing directly to the Netherlands, to Germany, and all of Scandinavia, who work far fewer hours than us and yet are more productive and have stronger economies. In fact, the country in Europe which works the most hours is Greece. What direction should we be going in? Looking at the likes of Germany and the Netherlands, or should we be looking at Greece? This transition should be happening now.
Right, let Mike come back.
Great idea, but actually let's look at the global world. Let's look at what's actually happening. Let's look at what's happening in the States. Let's look at what's happening with India. It's happening with China. We've got to make Wales stronger. I'm all for cleverer working. Let's actually invest. Let's get the government to invest in infrastructure so it's quicker to get to and from work. Let's solve the M4. Let's actually, flexible working, everybody's happy with that. But come on, I run a business. It's really difficult. And when you talk to people that run businesses, we all like looking after the people we work with. Business actually cares about its employees. And we're doing everything we can. But actually, going down to 4 days a week in a globally competitive market will just be disastrous. We'll just lose jobs. The reality is that we're not efficient enough to do that. If we become efficient, great, let's all do that. Let's all have a 4-day week. Let's have a 3-day week. But the realities are, it's hard to create jobs, it's hard to create prosperity, and we need to build the Welsh economy, we need to generate taxes, and this, as far as I can see, I don't understand. It's great, but actually, Aidan, if you ran a business, you'd see how difficult it is.
So as I've just said, I have looked internationally. The data is very clear. Countries that work fewer hours are more productive and are stronger generally. In this country, we have a crisis in overwork. Last year, the Health and Safety Executive, the government's own statistic collecting body for the UK, found that 1 in 4 of all sick days were a direct result of overwork. Overwork is a drain on our economy, and we need to sort this out.